we are doing another quilt, but this one's going to be a baby quilt. This is going to be a mini. This is for my swap at QuiltCon, and my partner likes Tula Pink, Free Spirit, Cave. So of course we are going to jump into some Tula, and I'm going to do the other side quilt pattern. She sent me some things to get some inspo from, and one of them just was like, see if you can shrink the other side quilt. So that's what we are going to try to do. I've already picked out some of just some of the fabrics that I want to mix into this. And now I'm going to pick however many squares I want. I'm not doing anything different other than shrinking this quilt down. I'm just going to shrink it. So it's going to come out probably about the size that it's supposed to be, 24 by 24. I'm excited to do this because again, however many half rectangle triangles that I need to make that is how many that I'm going to need to do this. I'm excited about it. So I'm going to start cutting and laying them out how I think I want them to go. And then it's just going to be a ton of cutting. And then that's going to be that. So I didn't show you guys the entire process of the other side quilt when I did it for Christmas because I took it to retreat. So this time you're going to get to see what it looks like, but in a little mini version. All right, so let's get started. First things are first, we are going to cut some little guys, and I'll show you how to do that when I get to the solid strips that I'm going to use, the background fabric. So like I said, I am going to show you guys what it looks like when I cut a full strip, but because I've turned this pattern into singles, so the focal image is going to be just a bunch of, as opposed to a strip of a color, each one is going to be its own design. So I'm using a charm pack to do that. Yes, I have quite a bit of extra. Those will go to a very good home. But anyway, I've got a charm pack here, and I just wanted to show you guys what happens when you get a print that you want to go right side up. Now this one here is actually not really directional. I could have shown you with another one, but you'll get the gist. So the big bear is looking at me, although those bears are looking down that way. I think we're gonna do another one. We're gonna do another one. Just kidding. Hold on a second. For this one, we can talk about these pinked edges. People always say, where do you put the pinked, what do you do when you have these pinked edges? Like, where do they go? And honestly, now that I'm looking at this and I am putting the pinked edges inside the 5x5, I can see that pinked edges are more than. So these really aren't true 5x5s. I've always wondered. People always say, are they not? But I have the pinked edges inside the 5 and inside the 5. And look, I have leftover on this side and on that side. So I imagine if I scoot it over just a smidge and up just a smidge, and I could take off the pinked edges here. Huh. Well, now we all know. Even though that is the case, the easiest way for me to measure this is just to put the little pinked edges on the outside of the measurement that I need, which will be fine because I'm doing everything about the same. So I'm putting for a single 2x4 finished half rectangle triangle, you can cut these at 3 1/8. And so I'm just going to cut these, and I'm putting the pinked edges on the inside of that measurement. So I'm going to line everything up with the outside. So when I get it to 3 1/8 and it's all straight, I'm cutting this. And we'll just toss that in the pile. Now my bears are still facing this way. Well, sort of, but I am going to flip them that way. And I am going to cut with the B-start up with the appropriate angle with it upside down. And that way, the largest part of this image is down here. I'm lining this arrow up with the outside of the pinked edge. I'm covering the pinked edge here. So again, the outside of the pinked edge, and then I'm just going to cut. I'm going to take my cut. And that way, when I turn it right side up, I see the bear. The bear is facing me. This actually is a non-directional print, so I get a little bit of everything in there. Not a big deal. But I'll show you another one with a very directional print. So this is a directional print. And I'm not going to try to fussy cut it per se, but we'll get some of that guy. Some of his bottom, I think. Yeah, probably a little bit of his head. How much are we going to get? Well, because he's just right there, and it's so easy, like with the soda and all. He's just right there. I think I'm going to try to actually get him. So I'm laying an old piece on this, and I'm just going to give it a little mark here. So I'm going to cut that piece off right there. And then I'm going to cut it again. So I'm just going to measure that little piece. I'm going to take him off. And I know, because the directions tell me the width to cut to start this triangle is this width here, which is 3 1/8. So I'm going to cut this guy at 3 1/8. And that is scrap. This is not a scrap. And I'm going to flip this bad boy around. And that way, I'm going to place this guy this way. I've got the cutting guide on this line here. And I've got the arrow pointing at the tip of one of those pinked edges. And I'm going to take this cut. Ooh. I'm going to cut right through his face. Gosh darn it. Yep, that's what's happening. Ugh, hate I did that. But I've got a little bit of his face. And there's his little bottom and body. I should have taken off a little bit more off the backside. I should have cut a clear template so I could have seen where I wanted to cut that guy. No worries. He's still a cutie patootie. But in theory, that is how you would get one of these. Probably should just do a clear template so that you can see exactly what you're getting ready to cut before you do it. So this is how we are going to do the background. This is how you would do the background if you were doing her traditional other side pattern. I am just freshening up this edge, and in the pattern template, the actual the instructions that come with the template, your acrylic ruler, it tells you what size to cut your strips to get that size half rectangle triangle. And the other side pattern utilizes only angle B half rectangle triangles. Again, I've got a couple of videos on half rectangle triangles that are very, very interesting. And I'm going to cut 3 of these for the amount of half rectangle triangles that I need for the background. So I cut 2 extra pieces for my background because we're going to get tricky with that later. So because I have solids, I can cut 2 layered if I choose to. I don't think I did that last time. I think I opened this up and just went down in a regular kind of fashion. I do not think that I doubled these up. I think you can, which would make it faster. And you know what? I might just do that. I might just do it. You've got a little wiggle room on the sizes of this. I mean, because you're gonna trim it down to size. So because I have non-directional plain colored fabric, solid fabric, plain colored. I'm tired, guys. This is what we're gonna do. We have taken this strip and we are only cutting the B angle. If you're cutting the A angle, that's a different situation. I am going to find, yes, you can flip this. Sometimes it'll be this way, sometimes it'll be this way, forward, back. There's a lot happening. But if you watch her videos all the way through, from the first video to the second, about using this, it all makes sense. You just have to do it. There's no way to explain it really well other than you have to play with it and just do it. I have a couple of these grippy things on here. I really want to change these out to a new method, but we're just going to work with it. I'm working with the B start. This orange B start is facing me, and I have a straight edge first. With the straight edge, I'm going to find that cutting guide number 1 and this little triangle down here at the bottom. I'm going to take that triangle and this cutting guide number 1, which is the orange stripe here. I'm going to lay it so that that angle is pointing at the very bottom of this fabric. And I'm going to take this diagonal cut first. This is starting off with a straight edge. Nice. Now I've just gotten 2 of these, and again, they're solid, so it's not a big deal. There's another one under there somewhere. There you are. And they're both going to be facing this direction, and I will add that to, I guess I can add that to its own pile. Now, this is how we just ended. We cut this angle. Now I'm going to take it and I'm going to flip it. I'm going to take that same triangle and I'm going to put it right up here so that it butts up against the top. And look, that orange angle follows right down here. So we're going to line this up. I'm going to make sure that this is at the very top. I can see here it's lined up with this line right there, which is my 5-inch line, which is what I need for this particular project. When you're doing your other side, your numbers will be different. And I took my cut. And now I got another 2 identical. And we'll add that to the pile. Now, I've got a straight edge, so I want to go to the start. You're going to start on a straight edge. I'm going to tilt this toward the right at an angle. And we're just going to line that up. Make sure that arrow is pointing at the bottom of that fabric. Make sure all this is lined up. This is on the line, that orange line. And we're going to take another cut. And once you get into your rhythm, guys, you start cooking with gas. You start just a going. I flipped it up. Arrow, top right. We're going to line this up. This is running parallel here. And we're going to take a straight cut. It's super repetitive with the background squares. And it's very important that you do all this flipping and stuff, though, because you want to make sure that you are cutting the appropriate angle for the project. And it seems like, to me, in the way that my mind works, is that if you wanted to make a full half rectangle triangle, you would cut one that's at this angle and then cut the other side, but it doesn't work like that. What's going to happen is this is the same angle, but when you flip it around, now you've got your half rectangle triangle. You cannot get that if you cut it the other direction. They have to be identical for this. This is very different than a half square triangle situation. This is different. So I need about 50 of these guys. But it's not going to take me long now that I've decided to double up. And again, I don't think I doubled up the last time. I think I was just a cutting. But you guys know that I enjoy cutting. This is one of my favorite parts of making a quilt. Maybe it's the sound. I don't know. But I quite enjoy it. And when you get confused, just remember you start on a straight edge. And so you're looking for your B start. You start on a straight edge for this project. And I'm assuming you guys are tired of watching me do this at this point. But for anybody who's doing this project, I know that when I first started this, I was a little confused. And so I just want to make sure that you get your money's worth and you're not intimidated by your ruler that you've just spent all your good hard-earned money for or on. So I don't want this to be one of those rulers that you get and then you just put away. Because at first I got scared. I was like, what is happening? I don't understand. And then I got it. And now that I got it, I got it. So these things our toys are expensive. And I don't want to just do it one time and then not use it anymore. That's not fun. I'm curious. I know you guys are too. Will this fit? Does this line up perfectly? Does this make a... Huh. No. Does it? No, no, no. Scrap. All right, guys. I think I should have gotten 20 out of that if I had done it correctly, because in there, one of the cool things about it is it tells you how many of these you can get out of a full strip. And it says that you should be able to get 20. And now I'm curious. So let's just count. So there's 10. Oh, that looks like it's more than 10. That's 5. That's 5. That's 10. I got 12. Nice. This is, honestly, I think this is Kona, but I'm not 100% sure. So don't give me a telling a story. All right. So I just really need, now I've got to cut into one hole, another one, and then a partial of the next one. I'm going to do that. I've got 2 more strips back here. I'm going to do one full one and probably half of another one. And then we'll cut the background squares and then we'll get to chain piecing like the Dickens. So for this pattern, there are some filler triangles that go around to make it do the cool thing that it does. So I just did some quick math and figured out what I thought the triangles for the shrunken size would be. And I think I got it right. We'll see. Well, we shall see. It wasn't difficult. I just reduced it just a touch. Just a touch. And I think we've got it here. But again, remember I'm using 2 by 4 inch squares. Rectangles. I keep saying squares. let's see here. I might have done some miscalculating here. I need 5 background triangles of the larger size. So there are 2 different sizes for the background filler triangles. And I thought that I might be able to get it, but I need 5. So I might need to cut one more strip, which is fine because I have plenty of fabric. I know I'll get it. Just realized I need 5, and this has been doubled over, so I'm gonna get 4 from just this cut. So I really only needed 1 strip. That's what happens when you're winging it, but it's fun when you wing it. So I'm just going to take this triangle, and again, these are filler triangles. And now I have 4 of these, and I just need 1 more. I've got to press this crease out really good, and then we will be good to go. These are solids, which is probably why I can go any which way. In the original pattern, these would be solids too. I mean, it depends on what you want to do, but in the original pattern, these background squares were solid. So I was just thinking, if you guys want to do this and you can't do the math, I completely get it. So I'm going to tell you, if you have the original pattern, I'm not going to give you her numbers, but I'm going to tell you what to subtract the numbers by in order to get this, just in case you want to do it. So I was thinking about it, and if you guys wanted to actually do this shrunken down, because I get the feeling it's going to be super duper cute. In her pattern for the throw size, which is the size that I'm working with, for her shape D, you should subtract it by 4. Subtract that shorter side by 4, and whatever you're left with, you're going to use that there. Those are the inches that you're going to use there. And then for the longer side, you're going to subtract that by 8, and whatever you get from that number, you're going to use that for the longer side. That's for triangle D. And then for triangle C, you're going to subtract 8 from the short side, and you're going to subtract 16 from the long side. And if you do that, the numbers that you get just from those should get you these here, and then you'll be good. I just get the feeling it's going to be super cute, and it's not my pattern to give, but I want to share this pattern and my interpretations of this pattern because, you know, it's just funky and cool, and we like her. All right, so that's how you prep those. And now all we have to do is figure out what we want where, set these to the side, and figure out which colors we want where, and add a background to them for the most part. For the most part, I'll show you the kind of the tricky part. It's not super tricky, it's just duh. So this is the pattern that we're doing. And I just need to figure out, and this is the size that we're doing. So I just need to figure out who's going where and how to incorporate these bigger ones in there too. So I kind of know what I want to do, kind of, sort of. So I'm going to get to laying these out based off of this here. Here goes nothing. So now I have them all laid out the way that I want them. And I'm debating, I'm going to take a picture and then I'm going to chain piece. I'm not going to leave them like this. Nobody's going to be picking them up, cutting them and doing all that. No, we are going to keep them in order, but we are going to just chain piece these. So I'm going to grab a stack of the background fabrics, set them right here and just chain piece. And the way that they go together is a little funky. So they go together like this. Oh, this is confusing. So you can actually have that tip, you can clip that tip off with a little part of the ruler, which I'm not going to do. I took the time to do that last time and that was not a good use of my time. So you're just going to put these guys right sides together and you are going to sew down. And don't worry about trying to do anything more than just line them up and sew them down. You will be fine because you're going to trim these up anyway. So the way that I'm going to actually stack these is we're going to work this way. These here do not get sewn to a background piece. That's where I messed up on the first one. Do not sew these to the background piece. These two, I'm going to just stack these up and I'm going to work with those. I'm going to leave this one here and we're just going to go on top, on top, on top, on top, on top, and on top. And we're going to leave these here. These go with this one goes with this stack. And that is how we are going to work with these. Then we are going to trim them up as these little rows. And don't get confused now, girl. So on and so forth. I think that one goes with this one. So we are going to grab these here. And I left that one there. So there's one over yonder that is not part of this. So I stacked them all up. This one is the last guy, and I'm going to take it over to my sewing machine with these, and I'm just going to flip it upside down, and I'm going to sew them. We are going to line them up. Do not be concerned with overhang and triangle issues. Don't do that. Just line it up. Nice and easy. I'm putting that little pinked tip there with that side, and I'm just gonna let this overhang right here however it falls, but it's lined up and I'm gonna sew. So let's go to the sewing machine and do that. Now that we have sewn this all to the super long chain, now we're going to open these seams up. And all I do is go through with my lovely wooden iron here and just open them up. And no, it's not going to stay, but it's going to make it so much easier when it's time to just hit it with the iron. and I'm leaving them chained like this. Usually I'd cut them apart, but I'm leaving them chained like this so that I keep them in order because I actually care about this layout. I put a little effort into where I wanted. I mean, I know it's scrappy. It's got a scrappy vibe to it, but it is intentional scrappiness for me. Intentional scrappiness. This would be a great scrap quilt. I mean, if you had big scraps, small scraps, like this would be, especially if you had scraps that were like all the same brand. I saw Latifah on Latifah's site, somebody did a bright pink background, and I am not a pink girl, but I want to do that quilt so bad, and they used all Kafes. And boy, does it look scrumptious. So again, we are just doing this here. And we will just give it a nice, good press. And now I'm going to grab my iron and press them all open. And over at the ironing board, this goes a little different, a little easier, but I didn't want to take you guys to the ironing board. I wanted to do it here, so here we are. So I'm going to finish pressing all of these open, just like this, and then I'll be back with you. So now we are going to grab our ruler and still leaving these in the chain. I know that it goes just like this. This one goes closest to this side. This is the end. And I'm going to work one at a time. It might seem like I should be going a little faster or whatnot, or that I should be breaking these apart. Nah, because again, I've met myself and we don't want to play that game. I will have these all confused, and if there's a specific order, be careful. All right, so these have all been pressed open. We are going back to this lovely ruler, and I don't want you guys to get confused or anything like that, but I know when we were cutting, we worked on start B, but when you're trimming, you're going to work on side B for the B angle. And the B angle goes from the bottom left to the top right. I love these because they are oversized. Yes, that causes waste, but I'd rather have waste and accuracy than have saved a bunch of fabric, but everything is super wonky. So this ruler makes trimming the specific sizes that this ruler comes in really good. If you have an in-between size, I don't know. But for the specific sizes that this ruler does, it's perfect. So, side B, I am going to place this down. There is a seam line, not the orange cutting line. It says seam line. It says it backwards, but it says it. And also, I changed out my grips. These grips right here that I bought, they're okay. They worked okay, but I would have needed to use more of them. And it's raised. It's a high grip, so it causes the ruler to rock. I switched it out for just good old medical tape. Where is it? A roll of 3M transport tape. And you know what? By George, if you put a little pressure on it, it really works. That is a great find. So anyway, I am going to take this. I can see through it. We're looking for the seam line, which is this black line. Not this one, but the one that follows the angle of the triangle. And we are going to zoom in. So we're going to zoom in a bit. And we are placing that black line right on that triangle. It goes straight down the seam. I'm going to angle it so that it's the right angle. And what I'm looking for is, I know that I want these to be 2 by 4. I wonder if I can zoom in more without making you guys sick. I think we can get about right here. So again, you can see that there is an orange line, a black line, another orange line, and a black line. These two are for a more narrow triangle, and we're going to work with those on a different project. It's coming, like in a few minutes. We are working with a 2 by 4 rectangle. So this is the 2 by 4 rectangle. It's not actually 2 by 4, it's 2.5 by 4.5. It's already done the work for you. I'm going to angle this so that I have fabric around all of this. It's more than 2.5, right? It's more than I need here. It's more than I need over here, more than I need over here, and more than I need up there. This triangle right here, this arrow, is pointing to the line. Perfect. Everything seems to be lined up. Again, I have more. This is straight up this way. I'm going to take 2 cuts, one up and one across the top. I'm going to give it some pressure. One up, one across the top. Okay. Now, I'm simply going to lift the ruler up, rotate this bad boy, and I'm rotating it so that it sits right in the 2 by 4 setting right here. So now I don't have any more overhang on this side, and I don't have any more overhang here because we've already trimmed that up perfectly. So now I'm just making sure that this line is right on the edge, and this line is right on the edge, and it is. I'm making sure that that angle, the seam, is going right diagonal. Making sure everything looks good. That feels right. And I'm going to take 2 cuts again. We're going to go up, and we're going to go across. And there we have our half rectangle triangle. Then I'm going to lay it here flat, right, so that we can see it, and we're going to keep it in order. So that's going to be the first one done. Let's do another one. I'm cutting it off the chain. We're going to take this guy. Oh, it's a cutie patootie. Loving him. Putting this down. This is oversized again, and I'm just making sure that I have more than I need to the left of 2 by 4 and to the bottom of 2 by 4, and something to cut up here if necessary. So I can move it down. I have a little wiggle room there. You guys have a better angle of what's happening up here than I do. I guess not if I look in the monitor. But anyway, there we are. We're going to take 2 cuts. And remember, we're working on side B, even though it says A start right here. That's okay. And you know it's right because this is the angle that's actually following the seam of your triangle, your half rectangle triangle. I'm lining it up perfectly on the left-hand side and on the bottom side. And I'm taking a cut. Stacking it. Grab another one. I'm going to show you one more. This is going to be the last one I'm going to show you. And then we will move on to the next step. I'm all out of frame. Here we go. Okay, and you can see here, this is a good one. You can see that there is plenty of space down here and to the left. And yes, again, I love the size that she has us make these, because you can get darn near perfect half rectangle triangles with this, where your points won't get eaten. Because that can happen with your flying geese and your half square triangles and your half rectangle triangles. They just get eaten up. It can happen. So now we're just going to set that perfectly in the 2x4 slot. And we are going to take our cuts. Okay, and I'm going to cut these last 3 or 4 off camera, and that will be that. Actually, I'm going to show you a wide shot of me doing it, just in case somebody wants to see it this way too. Just in case that was too close. I can make these all day long. But also, I am very into rectangles. I don't know why. It is a shape that I just am drawn to. Things that are elongated. If you look at my early paper crafting YouTubes, you'll see that a lot of the handmade cards that I made were what they call now slimline. It's my jam, and I think that there's something to be said about that. I think that speaks to me or about me. I'm putting that black line on there. I'm just scooching it down to make sure I have room everywhere. Got it. So when you are sewing these diagonally, you do have some room to not be oh so fussy. This is where you want to get fussy. This is where you get serious. So much fun. So much fun. All right. So now here comes the easy part. We have our stack of rectangles here, and now we just need to sew them together. They've been trimmed up. I'm making sure the colorful side is at the bottom right of both right sides together. And we are going to line these puppies up. And just so. Now we're going to open it up, add the next guy. Uh-oh, oopsies. There we go. All right, line you up. Trying to do things with this Band-Aid is not lovely. Okay. That looks pretty good. I am going to backstitch at the top of this one. Backstitch again. Open up. Add. Make sure that these are all at the bottom. The color is all at the bottom right hand corner. The background should be at the top left. And we are just going. right, I'm going to keep doing that until we get our full chain. So now, that can go up there. That's just the little one. We have sewn them all together. Aren't they cute? Now we are going to do the same thing we did, and we're going to open up all these seams. You could press them to the side if you want to. However, I'm getting ready to ask a lot when I quilt this. And so I am going to want this as flat as I possibly can get it, because I am not comfortable or familiar with my machine yet. So we are not going to make this machine work hard, because if I mess up something, I'm not going to know what to do, because I'm starting from absolute scratch. So we'll talk more about that when we get into it. But anyway, we are opening up this seam here, and we are going to do the same thing here. We're doing this at all the areas where we just sewed. And we're going to want this to just open up and lay just like that. It's a lot of bulk here. And so I think when you're doing half square triangles and half rectangle triangles, I think it's just better to press open in some instances where there are a lot of seams coming together in one spot. Because don't forget, we've got to join these rows. So I'm just hitting that there, and we're going to put that there and just let it sit. We had this conversation. Me and one of the ladies from Connecting Threads were chilling and having a conversation, and people swear by these wool mats, and I have them, and I want to say that I really see the difference when I use it, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? I don't know that I really do. I can get the same results, if not better, on my ironing board. I like it for this, you know, when I need to turn around and throw it, when I need to film. But other than that, I honestly don't use these unless I'm filming and filming on this. And I'm careful about how long I leave it on here, because I don't want to warp this cutting mat. So I'm careful about it, but you know, I don't know that it really makes a huge difference. I have that reflective stuff on my ironing board right now, and I like it. I think it works just the same, if not better. And I don't like the smell of wool. And a lot of people are allergic to wool. So if you don't already have a wool pressing mat, I think I would like it for embroidery, when you need to hit something with a little heat while it's still in the hoop. I think it could be useful. And again, it's useful for this right here, but I don't know that there's a huge difference, between having this here and having it on my ironing board. Okay, so now we have that all pressed out, and I'm just gonna hit it from the top. That feels nice and hot and flat. And we are going to do the same thing over here. And I have one more of these little guys. I guess I can do this one really quickly, because it's not an issue. It's just this one, because the top row only has 3 blocks. This is such a cool pattern. She nailed it. She knocked it out the park. So good. Oh, look what I did. This This is what happens when you are me, really, because I can't even blame this on talking. This is a very different quilt. Can you guys see the issue? These two should not be facing that way. I need to rotate this guy. So we're going to hang out with Jack. How about I do a project where I'm filming where I do not have to use Jack? Just one. Maybe the next one. So now I'm going to lay all of these out. I clipped the half rectangle pieces to the ones that they go with, if that makes any sense. So that one was clipped. This one is clipped. So now that we are here, we need to add these pieces to the front and the backs of some of these rows. Remember, this is an exact replica. It's just a baby one. It's just shrunken down. So these are the top rows, the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. Yes. So, not row 1 and not row 2, but row 3, 4, 5, and 6 all need an extra background triangle. So here we are. We're going to add this guy. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All of these guys are going to get, not that guy. There's another row that's down here. All of them need to get another triangle added on the back end, and also their triangle added on the front end. So again, not this one. We can just move you out the way. Not you. This one's going to get an extra front and an extra back. Extra front, extra back, extra front, extra back, and then there's one more row back here that's just going to get an extra back. You'll see this is all according to the pattern. Now, if you're wondering how we're going to add these on, we are not going to add them on this way. We're going to add them on so that the flat part is even right here. So we're not going to use the tip. We're going to add it on so that the flat part, see, that's much easier to sew. Just add it on just like that. I'm going to sew, and then we're going to trim it even. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. You're going to add it on this way. I'm just going to fold it over. But we are going to make sure that the top is even. If you are following the pattern, you need to trim these to the height. If you want to, I don't know, you can trim it before or after. It's really up to you. But because these are going to be 4-inch finish, this is a 4.5-inch ruler in my hand, so I can trim all of these to be the reserved triangles. All these reserved half rectangle triangles, this one right here, can all be trimmed down to 4.5 and then sewn in that way. Or you can just sew them and trim them. It's up to you. But the pattern says to trim them prior to putting them on. It's up to you. However you want to do it. I think I am going to just sew them on the way that they go. So I'm going to start with this one for no rhyme or reason. I'm going to do that, and I am going to just sew down. If you decide to trim all these as the pattern says, which probably is your smart idea, make sure you're trimming from the bottom. I mean, not trimming from the bottom. Make sure you're leaving the bottom intact and trimming off the top. You need to be trimming off the top. There we go. And then we take it and we place it this way. You're just going to follow the shape of the previous triangle. And you'll fold it this way and line that bad boy up and just sew down. I like to sew with the flat fabric on the machine, so I'm going to put this one face down and just sew. So now we have this. This is so juicy and scrappy and pretty. Forgot what I was thinking. So if we are following the pattern, we have 5 of these C pieces, which are going to be your filler pieces. So let's go ahead and put those on. The first C piece we are going to do is going to be on the second row, this one right here, and we are going to line this up with the top and sew down, leaving this hanging off. We're not going to freak out, and this is the angle that we're doing it. Okay, it's this angle shooting off into no man's land. So we are going to start working with adding our filler pieces. So we've done the front and the back. We've got all of these guys and all of these extra ones. And now I'm just going to stack these so that we can work on the first one, the first row. And we're going to put these to the side. This first row, we are going to grab a filler piece. This is triangle C. And we've got it at this angle. Okay? I know it seems weird. It seems like a lot of excess. The same thing happens with the big pattern. This is our first triangle filler piece. I'm going to sew this just like this. And I'm going to start down here and sew down. So I've sewn it and I've pressed it. Just press the seam open. Now you're like, what on earth kind of shape is that? You're going to take this off. You're not going to freak out. We're going to take it off. The way that we are looking at this quilt looks, I keep laying them out horizontal, but really this angle is meant to be this direction. And so that's what gives this quilt the zhuzh. That's what makes this an awesome pattern. So what I need to do is just square this up, line up that line there, or line up a line down here, and then just make sure, and then just take that off. Just take off that tip. So this is me just making sure that I'm lining it up properly. I'm running parallel on this side and this side, and I'm just going to take that off. We don't need it. It's gone. What? I know. Now, in addition to having these C, there's one, for the size that we're doing, there's one shape, D as in dog. And the way that we're going to put this one on is going to be a little different. This one is going to be put on this angle right here. Can you see it? It makes a right angle right there. So if we were to just line this all up straight, that is what we're working with when it comes to D. Can you see it? This makes the top left-hand angle. I know. It every time I do it, I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. So we're going to sew all the way down through the tip here, all the way. So I'm just going to flip this. So again, if we were looking at it this way, this is the angle. I'm going to give you guys a chance to kind of figure it out. I know that it took me a minute staring at it and trying to figure out how this all works. And again, I've shrunk this down myself. So the math, well, we're just going to hope that I did my math properly, and we'll get a quilt that is near the size that I wanted. So again, I'm just going to put this here. I can see the straight line there, and it just goes naturally off this way. I'm going to put it right sides together. And it's gonna look weird. This is probably why this is an intermediate pattern. I bet you it. I don't think it's a, whatever. It is what it is. But anyway, if I can do it, anybody can. You see how that is now at an angle? But when we flip it back, it will be straight, okay? So let's get to sewing this one straight down. I might pin this one just because I don't want it moving all around. So row 1 has its C piece on. Oh Lord, what did I just do? I think I just pulled 2 pieces. Is this the top piece? I think this is the next piece, yes. So this one here is the second piece. It's also gonna get a C. So we're gonna just put a C on this guy. And that is the angle of this C. Not a problem. We're just gonna right sides together and sew this on the back end. So we've sewn this one together. We're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna line it up. And this is parallel, this is parallel, this is sitting right on the same line. We're gonna just make it straight. Easy peasy. Now, when we look at this, these two are going to go together. Yes, it looks weird. I know. That's why this pattern, I don't know, it's funky, but it's going to go this way. So we are going to pin, pin, pin here, here, and here, and then pin down. And then sew this down, and that's going to be our first and our second rows joined. But we want to make sure that we get it right in there. So I have pinned, and we're going to remove these pins. And am I going to, I don't know if I'm going to do this open or not. I don't know. But here we go. Maybe I will press this open. It's a lot of bulk in here. I think I'm going to press the seam open. So the next piece that goes on, I press those open. So the next piece that goes on does not get a front or a back piece. We're just going to sew it. We're going to move this down like this. And we're going to pin in all these intersections. And we're just going to let whatever's happening down there happen. We're not going to freak out. We're just going to let it happen. I know it comes together kind of strange. Oh, really strange. What am I doing? How am I doing this? What's happening? Don't worry. We'll figure it all out. There we go. There we go. We're going to pin, 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 and then again, let the overhang over there, and we're looking to get a straight edge right here. That's how we know where to line this up. I'm sure this looks totally insane to you guys right now, but this one here, the next row, it's looking pretty good. The next row is just going to be a regular row too. There we go. And whenever I get confused, I just look and make sure that this is lined up here. So this is going to go like this. So I'm going to pin this to this. Don't freak out about this guy here. You might not be able to see it right now, but there will be a square right here. So there's a triangle that's missing right there. And we're going to trim all that down there. And then it's going to drop straight like this. And I'm going to trim this quite a bit. You guys will see. You guys will see how I trim this up. So don't freak out. I know it's weird. It goes together really weird. So when you're doing it your first time, just give yourself some grace. I'm going to put these right sides together. And I'm going to pin them. And then sew this down. And then we'll do the next row. The next row is regular. It's that very last row where things get tricky. So the next 2 rows I'm going to do off camera. This one and then this guy here. And then that last row has a couple of different things that are going to happen. Okay. So I have only made the throw size of this, so I really can't speak to what angle the other ones require and entail. I'm not sure. But for this one here, if we just push that up, so these were all, there was nothing special on the front or back in regards to that C filler triangle. But for this one here, we are going to have one that goes right here. And the angle that this one is going to go is going to be this right here. You guys see this angle? I know that's weird. I know there are some that flip up some ways and some that flip down. They do all the things, but this is the angle that we're after here. And I am just going to put right sides together and sew down. Okay. So this was perfect. And now we are just going to line this up like this. And yes, oh, what's that? Okay. And we are going to pin these all here. And this, so it should line up with this right there. We will pin that. I'm going to cut this at an angle, cut this straight. I can do that now. You guys have seen me do this several times already. I am just making sure that it is straight. The seam line is there. It's parallel here. And that's gone. Nice. Now we're just going to add this on. I know this is so weird to have things elongated and whatnot, but we will square all this up how we see fit in just a moment. Just as soon as we do this, and then we need to do the filler down here, which is kind of tricky too. So I'm going to pin, 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 and then sew down on this side. So now that that has been dealt with, the bottom, and yes, we've got some overhang over here, we need to deal with this section right here. And the way that she has done that is we're taking another one of these C's here, and we are going to sew these together. So this is going to fit here. So imagine that you had 2 that were like this, and you're just going to swing this bad boy around this way, okay? And then we are going to piece these 2 together, and then we're going to press the seams open, okay? So I'm just going to run a seam just on this side right here. So it looks like this. I just closed it, and now I'm going to run a seam, a 1/4 inch seam right here. Then I'm going to press it. So here's what it looks like. I'm just going to, like I said, open this seam. This quilt would have taken me a lot less time had I not opened up all these seams. Opening up seams is a whole nother step that takes a while. And I'm getting ready to do another quilt where I'm probably going to need to do the same thing. Can you imagine? So here we have this with the seams pressed open. And the way that she has us line this one up is this seam right here is going to sit between the last 2. Well, this one right here. Right here. It's going to sit right there, which is going to give us a little overhang over here. And of course, a little something going down there. Not a big deal. We'll put this together. And I'm going to, of course, put this side on the sewing machine. I'm going to pin here. And then I'm going to do the top and then trim it. And oh my goodness, I think that means that we will have a completed top. All right, so we have the bottom part sewn on, and we're going to take this off and square that corner. And we could throw a square right in there right now and kind of square that off if we wanted to. But I think we better slow down a little bit because I need to, anyway, we'll square all this off. Let's do this top angle right here. This guy is the one that we are missing. Where's a little triangle? Okay, here is a little triangle, also known as triangle D as in dog. And I am going to put that tip right in here. Right in here. And it's going to give me a little overhang on the front end, which is what I want, okay? Just a little bit of overhang there. Just put that in so that it just goes continuously like that, all right? So we're going to line that up and stretch that out, and then we're going to sew. Okay. Now this quilt is pieced. All of it's pieced. It's all together. Now it's time to square it up, and we really have some decisions to make. You see how much room is over here? That's a lot. That's a lot. It's less than an inch. It's about, 5/8 maybe. Yeah, like 5/8. That's a lot. And so I want to just have a 1/4 inch around this. On the one that I did a really chunky border, which was a good time. I actually thought this quilt was going to be the same. I thought it was going to be about 24 this way is 24 this way. No, this is a rectangle, which is fine. Not a big deal at all. So I want a 1/4 inch on this side, and I also want just a 1/4 inch on this side. So I need to do a 1/4 inch from this intersection, or these intersections. Same thing from the top. I need a 1/4 inch from these two. I know it looks crazy, right? With all these. So I don't know where I'm going to start exactly. Yeah, maybe over here on this left hand side, because once you get one corner squared, you're cooking with gas. I think I'm just going to put a regular, no, I'm going to put a black and white stripe binding on here. I think I'm going to put one that is tighter than this. I think I'm going to put like a tiny striped border. Yeah, I am. That's what's going to happen. I have decided. I let my quilt tell me what my bindings are going to look like usually before I put a binding on there. But yeah, we're going to put a stripy black and white super tiny binding on here. And again, I'm just going to make sure that there is a 1/4 inch from here, a 1/4 inch from here, from this intersection right here. Yeah. Yep. And that way we don't lose the design. This is so cool. It's so wonky. It's such a good time. It's just fun. This is like one of my first attempts at a scrappy kind of feel. And I like it. I really like it. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to square this up and we'll go from there. Let's see. I'm going to start from the bottom. Started from the bottom. Now we're here. Okay. Just had a moment. Okay. I am going to put my 1/4 inch right here in that little area, and also right here. And we're gonna see how I can square this up. I don't think, no. The 1/4 inch can be here, but it cannot be there. We're gonna have some room right here at the bottom. Let me go grab my square ruler. I think it looks good. She is pretty much square-ish. We're gonna say square-ish. I'd like to press it a little harder. I might even put it in my heat press and just clamp it down with all these seams and whatnot, but it looks good. So I did a 1/4 inch from the tops of these guys. We did a 1/4 inch from that side. I did not worry about the 1/4 inch down here. It's a 1/4 inch from here. Actually, it's not. It was a 1/4 inch from there because of where I started. I could probably take a little bit more off the bottom. It's definitely a 1/4 inch right here. And I could take a little bit more off the bottom if I wanted to. I can. And I think I might, so that this corner right here sits on the binding. But other than that, it's pretty good. It is pretty good. It just needs to be, again, pressed a little bit harder. But it's laying flat. It feels nice. She's cute. I hope the person who gets it really enjoys this. This is a really cute, scrappy wall hanging.